Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Indie Zone podcast. My name is Kathy. This episode of our continuing series on the Idaho versus Kohberger case is intended to provide you with an update of an interrelated case that is currently proceeding in Latah County. That is the matter styled as Laramie et al. Versus City of Moscow. This case was initiated in August of 2025 with the express purpose of seeking a temporary restraining order against the City of Moscow, enjoining them from releasing certain further materials from the Moscow Police Department's investigatory files into the catastrophic events that occurred at 1122 King Road on November 13th, 2022. That temporary restraining order was granted on the 15th day of August 2025. The last event that happened in the case was based on the plaintiff's request to have that temporary restraining order converted into a permanent restraining order. Oral argument was held before Judge Megan E. Marshall on August 28th, 2025, nearly 2 weeks ago. At the end of that hearing, Judge Marshall adjourned it. There was no ruling that was made from the bench. Prior to the conclusion of the hearing, there has been no ruling that has been filed as far as we can tell, and looking at the docket based on yesterday's activities, September 9th, 2025. The statement that has appeared continuously since August 28th, 2025, continues to be published on the docket. It says that the matter is under advisement, meaning that there has been no final ruling on the case as of yet. And so we will continue to monitor the docket in the case. Please continue to stay tuned to the podcast for any further developments relative to Judge Marshall's final ruling, whether the city should be enjoined in part, totally, from releasing such things as body camera footage to the public of the initial first responding Moscow Police Department officers who entered the room belonging to Madison Mogen, and or photographs that were taken by one of the initial responding officers inside the residence, and most critically inside Madison Mogen's room, depicting what Detective Brett Payne stated in the affidavit of probable cause that was filed on the court docket in Idaho versus Kohberger, December 29th, 2022, which stated at page 2 words to the effect that after he arrived at the property, this was hours after the first initial responding officers, he saw a K-bar sheath on the bed when standing from the doorway next to Madison Mogen. He repeated those statements in a attachment to the Pennsylvania affidavit of probable cause. Both of these statements were relied upon to obtain the warrant for Mr. Kohberger's arrest in Idaho and then in Pennsylvania, which is where he was on December 30th, 2022. This sheath has never been seen by the public in any form, whether as it was described by Detective Payne on the bed in Madison Mogen's room or anywhere else. And if this permanent restraining order is granted, there may be a possibility the public will never see what Detective Brett Payne claimed he saw standing from the doorway while looking into the room, because there is no other comparable evidence that is known out there except for the body cam footage and the photographs that were taken by Moscow Police Department. That's an opinion that I give, as I always do, pursuant to the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. This will now conclude this episode of the Indie Zone. Thank you for joining us here today.